In conversation, Christians are fond of telling atheists what an atheist believes. Three of the most common are, "You say that there is no God," or "You believe that we all came from nothing," or the most pathetic of all, "Atheism is a religion." Atheism does not denote a belief in anything, except a rational approach to the proposition that there is a God. I think that Christians attempt to pigeonhole us to counter the contention of many atheists that the usually blind faith of theists is a foolish position to adopt, and that a doctrine in which the more you believe without evidence, the more highly you are regarded, is clearly the teachings of a leadership trying to prevent you from questioning their preachments. Commonly, people claim to be Christians who do none of the things necessary to be considered a Christian. They don't go to church, they only pray when they're in trouble, they don't believe or know much of what is in the Bible, they don't follow the practices of Christianity, and they say things like, "I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in religion." When atheists say, "Well, then you're not a Christian then," these light Christians often retort to atheists, "You can't tell us what a Christian is," or "You can't define Christianity." Au contraire, mes amis, au contraire. Of course you can define what a Christian is, and just like the definition of an atheist that Christians are so quick to dismiss, the definitions in the dictionary are quite unequivocal. Now I realise that we could simply dissect the word and come up with the meaning follower of Christ, which in its broadest definition means that you could have a Muslim Christian. Then there's also the relatively recent term cultural Christian, also called a nominal Christian, used to describe people who identify with Christian culture, primarily the moral framework, and have a belief in Jesus, but don't necessarily believe in the supernatural elements or God. This is rather like believing in republicanism and George Bush, but not being a member of the Republican Party. Are you incapable of working out right and wrong behaviour without reference to a possibly non-existent figure said to live 2,000 years ago? Even Christians are rightly dismissive of these cultural Christians as not being true Christians. Some might call that dismissiveness hypocritical, but I see it as merely the unequivocal recognition that Christians have a clear definition of what it is to be one of them, and they don't want light Christians tarnishing their reputation with their wishy-washy version. However, I'm not going to turn to the dictionary to define what a Christian is. After all, a dictionary only defines the common usage of a word. It's no absolute arbiter of truth. I'm going to describe to you what a Christian is and should be. At its absolute least, a Christian is someone who follows the life and teachings of Christ and tries to live according to his example. I don't really see how any so-called Christian could equivocate over this bare-bones definition. After all, Christianity has the name Christ in it. So if you're not a follower of Christ, you're not a Christian. Fact. You can bitch and whine like a 13-year-old saying to his parent, "You can't tell me what to do," but this is the baseline to be able to wear the moniker Christian. If you claim to be a Christian but you dismiss the teachings of Christ, then you are at best confused. It's like being a Darwinian who doesn't believe in evolution. If you claim to be a Christian but don't try to follow the example of Christ, then you're absolutely no kind of Christian. Most YouTube Christians seem to fall very much into this category. I'm a Christian, but fuck all that hippie stuff about loving people and caring about their well-being. Christians like this who preach hate and intolerance do as much to swell the ranks of atheists as a thoughtful consideration of the biblical message that God so loved the world that he drowned it. Christianity as a named movement didn't start until 100 years after the alleged death of Christ, and it really ran into trouble in the 4th century when it became the official religion of Rome, leading to the Catholic Church. Nevertheless, that was when it started to become particularly formalised and ritualised, laying out quite clearly what the duties of a Christian were, and being prepared to enforce those arbitrary opinions with the most savage violence. The Catholic Church is very much responsible for the movement of many Christians away from organised religion, although I'll give credit to the hypocrisy and narrow-mindedness of many other flavours of Christianity too, such as the mega-churches with their millionaire pastors, the Anglican Church with its prejudice against women and homosexuals, and Mormons with their racism and imaginary post-demise planet Kolob. Christopher Hitchens pointed out that the various sects of Christianity were consciously collectivized by politicians towards the end of the 20th century in America as a way to gain leverage. Rather than being subject to ridicule for the quirks of their various sects, by presenting themselves as a homogeneous mass under a common banner, it protected them from precise definition. But make no mistake, there are still distinct groups with characteristics which they themselves use to identify themselves. And if it's okay for them to define themselves, it's fair play that outsiders should have the right to also. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please take the time to rate and comment, and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. Thank you.